Howdy, peeps. Welcome to one more podcast of Talking Paranormal with the Old Man. And as usual, I am the Old Man. Hope you're having a good weekend. Weather here is kind of like up and down. It's like, Mother Nature saw a state trooper on the highway. We had 70s last Thursday and Friday, 71 yesterday, windy. And then today it's 49. Supposed to get snow flurries this afternoon. And then 40s tomorrow, then back up in the 60s on Tuesday and Wednesday, back down to 40. So it's spring. Old man winter is trying to grab on to what he can before spring takes over. It is what it is. Hopefully, if you have anybody has any relatives down south, I'm hoping that they're all okay. Weird weather, man. It's like the down south, Mississippi, Alabama, tornadoes. They had an earthquake in Missouri yesterday. It's like, geez, oh, Pete, what more can freaking happen, right? Well, I shouldn't probably ask that question, but anyways, yesterday, um, not paranormal related, but I, as you know, I took over our son's old bedroom for my office now. So I painted the ceiling, painted the walls, and I'm putting up a few things. I have my Marine Corps emblem up. I have a Route 66 neon sign up. I have a Mopar because we do Dodge products, and that's up on the wall. I got Bigfoot, our family crest. I got some autograph pictures that I'm going to be putting up and stuff, and just make it more more my personal space. So, anyways, I know that's not paranormal related, but yeah, I'll tell you, let you know what I'm up to this weekend. So last week I covered or talked about the TV show we did, A Haunting. So to keep the momentum going, I'm like, let's talk about the DVD that we were on, which was A Haunting on Hamilton Street. And again, I'm not going to name names because if people that are in the know of this, DVD that we did, if they're listening, I'm not here to bring attention to themselves. It's not gonna be bad. It wasn't all bad, but I don't want to bring it, unwanted attention to people. So, I won't, tell who the people were and stuff. But anyways, so this was to tell you about the DVD. This was a few years back, and we had gotten an email like we usually do, to start a project or fundraiser or presentation or whatever. Uh, it was a rapper out of Saginaw. Again, I won't say who he is, but if he listens, which I doubt he is listening to this podcast, he knows who he is. And people that were connected to this, if you're listening, you know who that was too. So there was a rapper, and he had an interest, I guess, um, I don't know if you want to say in the paranormal per se, but like horror, the horror scene, then by default, these supernatural, paranormal. Well, he had his own group. And I guess I can tell you the name of the group because I don't think it's that well known. The name of the group was called the Seekers. So this rapper and there was two people that were these Seekers, and they would do investigations, film them, and I think they did do them on YouTube. I don't believe that they had anything else in the works, per se. So he contacted us, and I'm sure, and I'm not that naive to know that we weren't the only ones that he contacted. So I don't know, you know, how he chose. Well, I kind of know how he went with us. I guess from my understanding is one of his friends was into horrors and horror movies, horror stuff, and she knew about us. I don't know how. I don't know if she heard the interview, went to one of our presentations. I'm not for sure, but he said that he was talking to her, and she had mentioned our groups, and this was a group out here in mid Michigan. Uh, they were a pretty good group, from what I understand. This is all hearsay. I didn't hear this directly from her, but this is directly from him. And I guess that's what pointed him in our area, I guess. And we got to emailing back and forth, and he goes, I think I'm going to go with you guys. I'm like, great, no whoop. So the plan was to basically take him and his seekers, and we did three locations in Saginaw, Michigan, and he was going to film us. And the I guess goal, if you will, was to shop it around to the production companies, the TV channels, whatever, to have a weekly TV show, kind of like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, the endless stream of supernatural TV shows. And that was the goal. The final goal was that. So we agreed to meet. And one thing about the rapper that we were working with is, I don't know if it's because he was a rapper and he's used to getting his own way, or people used to people kissing his butt to do things, whatever. But if you know me, I don't do that. So immediately we clashed. Okay. Um, and again, we're in Lansing, he's in Saginaw. Not, not a long distance by any stretch of the imagination. It's about an hour, oh, I don't know, hour and a half, maybe. Um, I don't do highways. I'm not a big highway fan. To me, people going too damn slow in the fast lane for my personal take. I don't like that. I'm very impatient when I get somebody in front of me in the fast lane doing 75. Get the hell out of my way. I'm doing 85. So we take a lot of back roads, country roads, as long as they're paved. I don't take gravel roads. So immediately we had issues with that. I remember one time we were going to do one of the three locations, and the three locations that we did was the comedy club, or the old comedy club, the Shook Hotel, and the stable. Now, the stable at one time, from my understanding, was a fire department, a funeral home, and at the time that we did the actual show, it was a outdoor sporting attire, outdoor equipment store. The Shook Hotel at one time was a hotel. The downstairs now is, or was, a restaurant, and the upstairs had a few rooms. They were trying to, or they were renovating some of the rooms. Still kind of a scary location to be sleeping in, but that's just my personal opinion and belief. And the comedy club was a, oh God, what was it? It was a oh, I'm having a brain fart. Oh, it was a moose lodge. The order of the mooses or whatever. They um, had that, and the old comedy club was a three-story building. The first floor was like office spaces, whatever. The second floor had a ballroom and a kitchen area. And the top floor, I believe, was storage. Also on the first floor was a bowling alley, and that was kind of cool to see. So so like I said, we had agreed to meet, and we met. He was, when you first met him, he was a very imposing person. Just his presence, he was a bigger dude, not like me, gonna kick your ass kind of thing, but he was a bigger guy. Okay, so his persona was intimidating. Not that I intimidate easily, but he did intimidate just because of how big he was. So after, like I said, we first met, and we had scheduled to meet again in a couple of weeks. I believe it was, to do the first investigation, which was going to be the comedy club. So we had texted him, and he was going to give us the address on Friday, and we were going to meet on Saturday. So me and Brenda was at Walmart doing shopping. Hadn't heard from him, all day Friday. I texted him two or three times, no response, crickets. So I'm like, okay, well, we can't wait. We have, team members or members of our group that are waiting for the address. They have families. They might have other things planned. So I released the team because I had not heard from him. I had texted him twice. Crickets. So I released the team from the investigation the following day. Well, about a half hour later, he texted me and said, "Oh, we're going to meet at a Chinese restaurant first, and then we'll drive over to the actual comedy club." I'm like, dude, I just released my team. It's like I can't have people on hold. I'm not on your, beck and call. I'm just, I'm not sitting here waiting for you to tell me, okay, we're doing this on Saturday. That's how I roll. So we clashed almost immediately. So, and then I hadn't heard from him in a couple of weeks, and come to find out, there was this team, a paranormal team in Bay City, and I jokingly referred to them as the Bay City Rollers after there was a band in the 70s, 60s, 70s. So I called them the Bay City Rollers. So anyway, so come to find out, he I guess got, I don't know, tired of us, but we wouldn't, like I said, we wouldn't go to his every whim. So he decided to go with some other team. Well, okay, I might be cocky and I might be arrogant when I say this, but back in the day when we were doing investigations all the freaking time, we were one of the best groups out there. Like I said, I might be arrogant, I might be, cockiness, whatever, but that's how I felt back then, and I still do think that we have a very good team. It's just we're not doing as much as we did back then. So then he emailed me back, or he emailed back, I guess, a couple weeks later. Actually, it's almost a month later. He had texted me and said, "Are we going to, do this or not?" And I'm like, "Well, dude, I'm waiting on you." You know what I'm saying? So we agreed to meet, just me and Brenda, and there was two other people, three other people, four other people, other than me and Brenda from our group that was involved. And again, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to give them, publicity that they don't want, or if their friends don't know that they do this kind of stuff, I don't want to like, oh crap, he let me out, whatever. So we had met at the Chinese restaurant in Saginaw, and then after we ate, the rapper picked up, the whole group's tab. Then we went over to his office, which was only actually, it was a few blocks away, I think it was. And we, met there and we sat and talked, discussed what the project was going to be like, what the final outcome was that he wanted, which was a TV show. So then after we met him and talked about it, in his office, then we decided to go ahead and schedule it for the following weekend. And the first investigation would be at the old comedy club. And it was, I thought it might have been something else, but I do believe it was a moose lodge. I do believe. I don't think it was anything else. I could be mistaken. Probably am. Memory, first thing to go. But so we met there, and I guess Kinney Corner, or if you're from Iowa, Caddy Corner, from the comedy club was, or still is, like a little on Hamilton Street. It was small shops. There was a coffee place across the street, and it's kind of funny because when we got there, the Bay City Rollers was there, and I guess they were his bitch because they went and got us coffee, and then brought us back the coffee. Well, come to find out, the reason why he replaced them with us, or I'm sorry, he replaced the Bay City Rollers with us, was because they were, what he said was unprofessional. They jumped at like every sound, every bump in the night, if you will. And they had, I think, two or three teenage girls, and every time, they screamed like a baby back bitch. Well, the problem is, they're teenagers. They didn't have the experience. And he said that one of them actually said, "This place is too scary." And then, if it's too scary, dude, you're in the wrong field, buddy. Okay, go back to selling, whatever in some, quiet place. So, so that's how we found out that he tried to go with them. They were unprofessional. They didn't seem, he said that they didn't seem to know what they were actually doing. So he replaced them with us. Or sorry, replaced, yeah, he replaced them with us. So we, after they had left, thank you for the coffee, Bay City Rollers. I appreciate it. So then we started doing the investigation. And we had our equipment that we had to set up to. So it was basically we were going to take our equipment, any footage that we got, plus his equipment that he had, which was basically just handheld cameras. And then if we got anything, we would send him the stuff, and then that would, make the movie or DVD. And that's what he was going to pitch to the TV shows, producers, the networks, whoever you pitch that stuff to. So we set up our equipment and stuff, and we had, well, we were there almost, well, 5 or 6 hours until early morning, and we did get a few things. Uh, Up on the second floor, like I said, there was a ballroom, there was a kitchen area, off the kitchen area. So basically, if you came up the steps, the actual ballroom like floor was right in front of you. If you went to the left was the kitchen, and then if you went through the kitchen to the other side, there's like a eating place, a sitting place you could sit and talk. And then if you went around, it came out to the other end of the actual ballroom floor. Well, there was a clock, and I remember this. There was a clock in that meeting room, sitting room, whatever you want to call it. It was an electric clock, and I kid you not, it was going backwards. Okay, I happened to look up, and the hands were going counterclockwise, not clockwise. Now that could have been a defect. That could have been something, the clock was messed up. I don't know, but the clock did go counterclockwise. The hands did, and they were moving. It's like the second hand was going counterclockwise, and then the actual hands on the clock, the big and the small hands, were going counterclockwise too. And as you all know, they go clockwise. So that's why it's clockwise, not counterclockwise. So that was kind of weird. And then I had set up a video camera in the entrance off of the meeting, sitting, eating room into the kitchen. I had set up a camera and let it run. Well, when we were reviewing our footage later on, there was the best I can describe it is it looked like if something like a clown made a balloon animal, like you have the body, the legs, the head, and the ears. Ow, that was me hitting my headphones. That hurt. Ow. Okay, off track. Get on track. Okay, and it looked like it came from the freezer door that was closed. It came towards the camera. Again, nobody was up there. The camera was running all by itself. Nobody was up there. And it came towards the camera like it was like twisting and turning. It came to the camera, and it's almost like, oh crap, there's a camera or something to that effect. I don't know because I'm not a ghost yet. And then it went back the other direction and went back into the freezer door that was closed. So that was weird. And I do remember downstairs we did make contact with a spirit. There was a not an urban legend, but like scuttlebutt, that the owners of the comedy club, he was having an affair, and he had his wife killed and dumped and dumped into the water, the river that was like right behind the comedy club. And there was rumors, and the scuttlebutt was that this happened. It was like a hush hush secret kind of thing. And yeah, so we made contact with one of the spirits in there. It was a female, and she basically said that yeah, she called her husband. Again, if you believe in this stuff, great. If you don't, I'm just telling you what I experienced. And she said that yeah, all that had happened, and that he was killed, or he killed her, dumped her body into the river, yada yada yada. So that was kind of interesting. But the weirdest shit that I've ever seen in my paranormal investigation in life happened on the second floor ballroom. Okay, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I still remember because it was like it's weird as hell, man. And there's these two old people that owned the comedy club building now, and they were, I mean, back then, dude, this was like 2010, I think it was 2011. They were old back then. They were old. They're probably in their 30s. No, I'm just kidding, dude. They were probably in their 80s, man. Easily in their 80s. I mean, easily in their 80s. And the actual ballroom floor was wooden. Is a wooden floor. They were tearing while we were there doing the investigation. They were tearing the floor up. Yeah, dude, tearing the floor up. They had freaking hammers in there. They had crowbars, and they were making a freaking racket. So my theory, as I don't know this for a fact, it was never confirmed nor denied. What the hell were they doing, at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? Because they started before we got up to the actual ballroom. We could hear them when we were on the first floor. We could hear them upstairs. So what the hell were they doing at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning whenever they started tearing the floor up? I have my own suspicions. I have my own ideas, my own opinions. I think they were intentionally making a racket so we would not get anything as far as EVPs or any kind of activity. I really do believe that to this day. I believe that. But who the hell would be tearing up a floor at their age? And they weren't going too fast either. That was something, they were going slow as hell. They were old. What do you expect? What were they doing tearing up a floor on the exact time and day that we were supposed to be there? No, the rapper, he got permission. It's not like we were trespassing. They knew we were going to be there. So why did they pick that day, that time, to tear up the damn floor? And why would you tear up the floor for? It was a perfectly fine floor. It was a wood floor. It had been stained, varnished. It looked pretty damn nice. Why would you be doing that? And again, my opinion is they didn't want us to get anything. So that's my personal belief, and I will believe that until the end. That's what I think. So after the comedy club, we packed up, and we were only there one time, and that was it. We did one time in the comedy club, one time at the stable, and one time at the Chick Hotel. Now, as you can imagine, the DVD is called A Haunting on Hamilton Street. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that all three of them were on, you guessed it, Hamilton Street. Now, if you were on the far end to the north of Hamilton Street, that was the Shook Hotel. 2 blocks to the south was the Comedy Club, and then about another maybe 2, 3 blocks south of the Comedy Club was the stable. Now the stable, I don't remember too much happening at the stable per se. I do remember, like I said, it has a first floor and upstairs. What was cool though? Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. There was something that happened in the attic, but what was cool on the second floor is when you first went up the stairs, the staircase to the second floor. Like I said, there used to be a funeral home. They had, they still had, and this is cool as hell, man. The caskets displays in the walls. So, and then they had like a registry of from like the 1800s, the late 1800s, early 1900s. They had a freaking registry of who bought caskets. I mean, it's ghoulish. It's not something, the death is not, like, oh, death's not exciting. But it was cool to see that. Well, anyways, they had the displays where you could pull the cat like if someone was interested in the brown casket, they could pull the casket out from the wall, open it up so the pr- prospective buyer could feel the material, make sure whatever. That was cool in itself. Well, the attic, there was, if you went up, there was a stairway to the third floor, which was the attic. Just a lot of stuff, storage more or less. Well, when we were up there, we heard whispers coming from the attic. And it's like, okay, no one's up here. Again, we did these investigations. The place was closed, obviously. And we were there from like 8 p.m. until probably, oh, I don't know, probably between 2 or 3 in the morning, each spot. And then we had to drive home, which, it made for a really long freaking night. Um, so up in the attic in the stable, we heard whispers coming from the attic. It's like as soon as you, like, if you were standing in front of the door to the attic and you opened the door, you could hear whispers. It was coming from someplace in the attic. But as soon as you walked into the attic, the whisper stopped. So we didn't really find out who or what, for that matter, was there. So that was kind of interesting. And there was one thing that they did put in the actual DVD was one of the seekers. He was interviewing me. He was interviewing me on the second floor in front of the casket display wall. And like I said before, I'm not a big fan of orbs. They could be dust, they could be ammodander. Unless they show some kind of intelligence, I'm not a big believer in orbs. Okay, spirit orbs. Unless they show intelligence, and I mean, like I said before, they come, they turn, they change directions, go up and down, whatever the case might be. So one of the seekers was interviewing me, and I was talking about that hotel that I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, about where they saw, the woman with it, from only her knees on up, whatever. And as I'm relaying that story to him, an orb comes over from over my left shoulder. It comes over my shoulder. It goes down in front of me and disappears into the floor. Now, again, you could say, well, that, could be dust. Yeah, it very well could be dust, but it did show intelligence because it did come over my shoulder and then went straight down. There was no air conditioning going at the time. There's only two of us up there, one of the seekers and myself, and we were all alone up there in front of that area. So that's what happened at the stable. Now, the next place that we were going to was the Shook Hotel, and the plan was, and I'm not, egotistical. I'm not the center of the universe. I understand that, but well, we were told, not naively, but we were told from the rapper that we would be the main people in this show. So I guess that he didn't think that we had the star quality, if you will. So, I had just gotten through with a meeting. It was for work. It wasn't at work. I was off site meeting, and he had sent me a text, and he said, "Oh, I got some great news. I got some great news." I'm like, "Oh, cool. What's the great news?" I'm thinking, he's already been picked up. He already has a pilot, scheduled or what order, whatever. And he goes, "No, dude." He goes, "I got Brian Harnoy from Ghost Adventures. Oh, I'm sorry, Ghost Adventures. Yeah, I wish. From Ghost Hunters and Father Calder from Paranormal State. They've signed on to do this project." And I'm like, "Oh shit, we're done." And that was literally my first impression. Um, I think that half of our, no, probably three-quarters of our stuff that we filmed didn't make it off of the editing cutting room floor. Seriously. Um, we did still get credit in the actual DVD, And at the end, he thanked me and Brenda personally, whatever, plus our group. So we still got the credit and everything. But like I said, my first thought was, oh man, we're screwed. you know. So, anyways, uh, so we went to the Shook Hotel. Now, Brian Hernoy and Father, Father, geez, oh Pete, I'm still trying to make up the hour we lost of last week for sleep. Father called her, and we did the Chick Hotel, and he had rented the upstairs suite for us to stay in afterwards. But again, we didn't. We came home. We had kids back then. Well, we still got kids now. That's not what I meant. But the kids were a lot younger back then, so it was like we had to get home, pick them up from grandma's house, bring them home. So we did the Shook Hotel. And one of the things that I remember happened is we had walked into like a little utility room, I guess you would call it, and there was like a can that had like oil or something in it. And as we walked into this room, we heard like a real loud clunk sound. And we looked around. We didn't really see anything at first. Like, hey, what the hell was that? And then when we looked, because I saw that can when we first walked into the room, and we were looking the opposite direction. The can flew off the shelf that it was on and it landed in front of us. And the floor had like dirt, not it wasn't a dirt floor, but the floor had like dirt or dust on it, and you could see where the can had flown off the shelf, had hit the floor at that spot because all that dust and dirt was moved, then you could see where the can rolled about 3 or 4 inches past us. So that wasn't something where we accidentally hit the can as we came into the room. No, it flew about 2 or 3 feet off the shelf where it landed and then it rolled. Well, supposedly back in the day, the Shook Hotel was part of the Underground Railroad. And if you go downstairs in the Shook Hotel to the actual basement, there are still tunnels there. The rumor is that the tunnels were sealed off. So I don't know. We didn't venture past that. And we were down there to the entrance of the actual tunnel. And you could see probably 4 or 5 feet into the actual tunnel. And we were doing EVP session and taking pictures. Well, as soon as we got down there, I took 2 pictures, brand new batteries, and as you know, the spirits will take the energy from the spirits. I'm sorry, from the energy and from batteries for energy for themselves. Well, after 2 or 3 pictures, the camera goes replace batteries, and it was totally dead. It would not take one more picture. So I went upstairs to get some new fresh batteries. Well, as soon as I got up the steps and got out of the basement, the camera, I looked at on the screen on the camera and the battery icon was green. So they drained that fast. Well, when we were downstairs, and then we went back to downstairs, and one of the seekers came with me with his camera, and I told him I sense that there was a African American boy right there, and I said he's wanting to know, he's asking for freedom. How do I get freedom? And one of the seekers who was taping, he actually got that on his. So we had it on the tape recorder and on his camera, where it said he picked up a voice that says, "I want freedom. How do I get freedom?" So that was kind of cool. Now, another thing that happened that I was not divvy to, I guess, was the rapper. He said that he was interviewing one of the workers in the kitchen, and he saw like a white mist go past the doorway that goes into the kitchen down towards the actual basement. And he said that he saw a white mist going down that area. He said he saw it for like a split second. Now, this rapper, he would text me on anything that he got, any evidence, like I said, the white mist, anything that happened, he would text me. So I got this, I got this, I got this. So when we did So I guess I'm a little bit ahead of myself. We did a premiere at the Temple Theater in Saginaw. And the Temple Theater is a theater, but they also have, plays and things like that there. So we did two nights showing the movie to the general public. And the first showing, which was the premiere, I guess, he played it, and as we're leaving to head home, and it was packed. Both the premiere night and the second night was packed with people. And when we're driving home, I told Brenda, I'm like, there was two scenes that there was one where he's looking up the stairs at the Shook Hotel, going up to the second floor. That there was like a quick blur of movement that went across there, and the audience goes, that's the reaction that he wanted to have. And the other one was there was this room downstairs. Supposedly, if you put a ball in the center of the room, the ball would move. Well, okay, not to like bust anybody's bubble, but the floor was crooked as shit. I mean, you could walk into the room and see it was freaking crooked. So, and that was in there too. But he didn't tell us that he had an experience in there. So there was two, and I'm not insinuating. I don't want to get sued. I'm not insinuating that he faked the evidence, but he would text me, like I said, any little thing happened, he would text me, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. And that stuff was in the movie, okay? The two scenes with the blurry figure going across the top of the stairs, and the they called it the antique room because there was antiques in there. Whatever happened here, he didn't tell me about that. So just by going by that, he faked the evidence, because I think he realized then is that you can't, and I've said this before, you can't flip a switch and have things happen. It's a crapshoot. It's either things are going to happen or things are not going to happen. There's no in betweens. So even with him bringing in Father Calder and Brian Hanoi, and all Brian Hanoi could talk about, because I saw, I didn't see, I met him and Father Calder. I have a picture of them with me at the State Theater. They had like a green room, I guess you call, but they called it the Zebra Room. So, and that's where we met before the show started. So we did all that stuff. And I got my picture. I wasn't like, oh my God, it's Brian Hanoi. No, it was just like, okay, I probably won't get this chance ever again to meet them, so I just want to get a picture taken with them, plain and simple. Well, Father Calder, rest in peace, has passed away. Brian Hanoi was in legal trouble. Actually, he was scheming his people that followed him. He would sign up for tours. He would sign up to make personal appearances. He would take the money, but he wouldn't show up. And I recall when we were down in the zebra room before the show started, that 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 he said that he had a show ready to go, but the TV show, or the TV channel, the production company, said that the TV shows right now was too saturated with paranormal, haunted, or ghost shows. So as soon as things quieted down, he was going to be back on TV, but he didn't make it back on TV. At least now that I'm aware of. I don't watch too many paranormal shows because, yeah, I just don't. Um, so when he interviewed him, he would like antagonize the group, or not entirely the group, but the spirits that were there. And all he could talk about was, oh, when I was on Ghost Hunters, we did this. When I was on Ghost Hunters, we did this. Don't go out and spend $10,000 on a thermal imaging camera. Take your team to Switzerland, Scotland to do the castles. So he was definitely living in the past. He has not, as far as I know, he has not done anything since. Actually, I do have some other stuff that I can talk about in this upcoming podcast. So the next upcoming podcast will be part two of this because there's other things that I can talk about. I don't want this podcast to run over hour and a half. So I think the next week I'm going to talk about some other stuff about this. But I will say one thing though is that when we did the Temple Theater uh, after the premiere, so it was the evening two that we did. Come to find out, Prozac sent emails. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said his name. Oh well, it's out there now. The rapper said, yeah, I try to hide it in case people aren't listening. The rapper sent out emails to like every paranormal group in the area, and the and see, I'm not going to edit that out because I don't believe in editing. So I slipped. My bad. Um, so he sent out an email to like every group, paranormal group in the area, and it, he sent it out kind of insinuating that he wanted to find groups to work with for part three or be like a sequel to A Haunting on Hamilton Street. And our team was sitting, in the audience, and we had all these paranormal groups after they realized who we were. They had like their resumes with pictures and all this kind of stuff, that they have done investigated, and they're like, oh, how is it working with him? How is it? Where I'm like, well, is once you understand each other, it's okay. So one of the groups told us that they were there to like apply for the upcoming DVD. So I felt kind of bad because they were all thinking that they were going to be on TV2 or DVD, to work with him. But in reality, he just wanted to fill seats. That's all that it was. He wanted to fill seats at the Temple Theater. So I can chuckle now, but I did legitimately feel bad for these groups, thinking that they had a shot to be on the next project, and all he wanted was to fill seats. So I felt kind of bad about that, but I left the theater and I didn't feel bad no more. Screw him. So anyway, so then before we left, we were out, and we weren't in. I don't know. I felt kind of slighted from all the time that we had put into this project. The weekend, countless weekends in freaking Saginaw. You know, doing these investigations. He had a table where him and one of the producers and the Seekers and Brian Hanoi and Father Calder were doing like an autograph session, and we weren't invited to sit there, and that kind of pissed me off, and it still does. The whole how everything was handled still kind of pisses me off, but whatever. The wife always tells me don't hold a grudge. Ah, screw that crap, man. I'm holding a grudge. I hope Thousand Spirits infest his underwear, whatever. Um, so as we're standing there and we're just like observing all these people up there, ooh, ooh, ooh. See, I almost said it again. Ooh, 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 you're so great. We're back in the background, and this couple who recognized us, like, oh, you were in this movie. I'm like, yeah, yeah, we were. Can we take your picture? Like, yeah, dude, no problemo, man. Yeah, that will be $10. No, I'm just kidding about that. I'm like, yeah, dude, yeah, sure. So they each took their picture, with us, as me and Brenda and our team, and we left. And that was basically it. So that was our experience. Like I said, I wanted to keep the flow going from last week's episode of this was a haunting episode. So this was the haunting on Hamilton Street. Now, like I said, I do have some other stuff that I can share that I will share in part two. I will name this haunting, or I will name this a DVD part one. Next week will be a DVD part two. Let me write that down because I will forget this before I leave here. So DVD part one and part two. So yeah, so that was our experience filming a DVD. Like I said, the upcoming episode here in a week will be some more. I don't want to say more dirt, but just more information that, like I said, I didn't want this to it's already almost, almost 45 minutes. I didn't want it to run over an hour. So that being said, we are still on track for the middle of May for a public investigation in Bath. Like I said, that is still on. I will give information once it's more concrete. And as usual, until we meet again, stay away from the light. Bye bye.